What's up, wrestling fans? It's Joe Cronin here with Jake DeMarco, going over some news that we've kind of known about a little bit, some of it, but it's just I wanted to go over it and talk about it a little bit. The first topic to get to here that I wanted to speak about is, by the way, if you haven't subscribed, click the red subscribe button down below, click the like, and share these videos everywhere. Make sure everybody knows about the show. That way we can do a little bit better. Stone Cold's podcast seems like it's over, or it's on a major hiatus at this point. WWE officials, this is behind-the-scenes stuff that I don't know if it's real or if it's just speculation, but it does appear that ever since that Dean Ambrose interview happened, and it was an uproar, basically. I mean, Dean Ambrose probably wasn't happy with the way it went. I'm sure WWE officials weren't happy either because quite frankly, made Dean look like a jackass. Now, I blame most of that on Dean Ambrose for not answering the call during the podcast, whatever it had to be that he had to do. It just didn't look good, and Stone Cold for some reason almost had a vendetta, and it was almost like someone told him to do it, but apparently if he just did it himself, I don't know, but people are pissed. What do you think about this? If we don't get Stone Cold's podcast, but we keep getting this other stuff, JBL, all the other shows that we're seeing, why would WWE pull this when the uncensored stuff is what they essentially draws us to the network?
Exactly. It doesn't quite make a ton of sense. I know, like you said, I do agree with you there. Dean Ambrose made himself look like an asshole. He didn't want to be there. I know he said, even recently at the Royal Rumble pre-show, he hates social media interviews. He doesn't like to be, a behind-the-camera kind of guy. He was even uncomfortable being on Total Divas. So then why have him on at all? They could have found somebody else to interview if they knew this. But
because he was the champion. He's the WWE champion at the time.
I mean, it fit at that point in time, but I'm sure, they've had other people that weren't the champion. They could have interviewed somebody if that was really the issue. But I guess Dean should have just stepped up. The role, which carries when you're a WWE superstar.
Maybe they wanted to find out how he would do. I mean, if he can't deal with doing an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mean, you can't be the champion.
Exactly. Maybe that's why his title reign was cut so short.
Well, it seemed like immediately after that, it was like, how can we get this off of him?
Yeah, pretty much it did feel that way because then it went to, AJ and Cena going back and forth. So, yeah, that does make a great deal of sense.
Well, either way, it's a shame. And I like JBL's interviews with people, the shoot interviews that he's done. JBL actually has done a pretty damn good job. And although I would prefer Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think WWE thinks JBL does more of the style they want, where he does get some hard-hitting stuff and some very provocative information and whatever from people, but he also kind of keeps it in the wheelhouse of that sort of umbrella of WWE, where Stone Cold usually keeps it that way, but every once in a while he kind of shoots outside the lines, which I like, we love. But JBL's show was good too, but I don't know why they don't do more of them. And why did that show with Rosenberg, why did that on the table or off the table or whatever the fuck it was called, why didn't that show with Rosenberg keep happening? There's only one episode. Why the hell didn't they film like 6 of those by now? Because I was enjoying it. Although I feel like Rosenberg needed help because he was getting bullied, but
he was getting bullied. But that was kind of that flip the damn script show. Yeah, they went ahead and they not only gave a big middle finger to the smart marks on the internet crowd, but they also went ahead and were able to answer a lot of the questions that we had currently. So it was good and bad all in the same. But at least it was interesting no matter what. So. It was definitely captivating television. And JBL, I enjoyed what he did with Eric Bischoff on the network. Even Table for Three is okay. I don't really care for Swerved and Camp and, the stories, the cartoon animated show there. But more things like that. And it is a shame, though, that Stone Cold is on a hiatus. Even Jericho, when he was doing his podcast, was entertaining. It wasn't as good as Stone Cold's, but it was still entertaining.
Well, it was entertaining, and it's too bad, to be honest. But we got some viewership in here. Maybe not exactly the ratings of the WWE right now, but we've got viewership notes. And this is from the show. Of course, Goldberg was on the show. Monday's Raw featuring Bill Goldberg response to Brock Lesnar WrestleMania 33 challenge. Samoa Joe was there as well. It drew a 3 million viewer audience, a 3.1 million viewer audience. That's down. Is that down? Is that down 13% from last week's 3.6 million? Wow. I didn't realize that Raw did a 3.6 million last week. That's crazy.
Yes, it did. That was partly because of Brock Lesnar's appearance, which really boggles me as to why, as you mentioned previously in your last news report about Seth Rollins, that Brock was backstage and used as a dark match.
Again, this is almost like, you're right. Why was he used as a dark match? And I think that's to keep it special, keep them away from each other. But still, It doesn't make any sense. The WWE is treading water with this. Like, they really are. It's like the Titanic sinking, and you have a time machine, but the time machine will only take you back in time 20 seconds every time, and you can only use it once.
That's a great analogy. They can only bail so much water out.
Right, so it's like, this Titanic sinking. Well, we can go back in time real quick, 20 seconds, and then throw some water out, and then we got to wait, and then it fills up again, and then we bail it, and we're stuck there forever. I mean, that's what WWE is. They're stuck there forever until Goldberg and Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker are gone. When those three people are done and they're not coming back, they're screwed.
Exactly.
In 5 years, 10 years, 5 to 8 years, they're screwed unless they start.
They're not going to be able to rely on The Rock. They're not going to be able to rely on Stone Cold.
Right.
There's not many other legends that have that kind of buying and selling power.
This is a Band-Aid that they're using right now because it's like they're allowed to do this as a Band-Aid, but people don't understand, like, because once this is gone, the wound is. It's like they have a giant wound and they put a cloth over it. But it's like eventually, there's going to be a problem. There is an issue right now, and they're not fixing it, and it's pissing me off because if they don't make new stars in 5 years, if they haven't changed the writing staff, I don't know if it's like they're not writing because they know they don't have to. Because who cares about what we really write about? Because we're going to bring in these guys. SmackDown cares, but Raw doesn't, and it's weird.
Exactly.
Quick, one more thing, real quick, is for you before you got to go. I'm going to continue, but I know you have to go. Seth Rollins is apparently going to be able to go. I made a video about this already, but what are your thoughts on this happening?
I mean, my God, if he's good to go, I just hope it's not at the expense of his health and well-being. I know there's got to be a part of his mind that would be willing to kill himself. If I was in his shoes, I would do anything. I would let them, duct tape a rod up my ass and shake me around like a puppet to not miss WrestleMania. I would do everything in my power. He missed WrestleMania the year before, lost the title and was stripped because of it. He's done so much to rehab and work his way back from a terrible leg injury. And to have him go down by a fluke accident is terrible again. And I kind of hope the rumors are true, but just not at the expense of his health. I don't want to see him perform because he feels like he has to. I want to see him perform because he thinks he's able to make it. I don't want him to do further damage and have to retire just because he feels like he has to make a match with Triple H at WrestleMania this year.
Right, I agree.
So
except
I'm kind of worried.
I'm actually somebody who's on board with go for it. Just have the match at WrestleMania, but after that, take weeks, if not a month off. I mean, especially
take
weeks.
a ton of time off.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Jake. I know you got to run, man. Why don't you get out of here, take care of that stuff, and I really appreciate you stopping by. Jake DeMarco at Countdown Ended on Twitter. If you guys have any problems or questions and I'm not getting around to you, Jake is always someone who's there to take the heat.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jake. I'll talk to you in a few. Jake had to go run out and pick up his kid. Now, here's the other thing. I also want to say thank you very much to Eric Notkin. Thank you so much, dude. He's Mr. Patrick Stewart. What a big support he gave. On my website, on joecronenshow.net, at the bottom of the page, there is a donation area where if you don't want to donate to the show live or donate in Patreon, you don't want to be doing all that, but you do want to send money to the PayPal directly, the donation it's considered a donation then exactly on the website, so joecronenshow.net. So he and a couple other people like Mark G and Michael T and a couple of the new guys. Thank you so much for your contributions, and especially to Eric with a big one there. Very appreciative of you guys who went and did that on the side, not doing it so people could see it, but doing it on the side. They're very nice. Also, patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show is where to support right now for me. If you can do it monthly, it's the best because that way I know what income I can deal with and what I'll be able to do. That is the best way if you love the show to help me out and also help out some of the people that help me on the show too. So thank you so much for everybody for doing that. Now, I got a few more things here real quick. The Raw viewership obviously looks good. Jericho and Goldberg, what an interesting exchange on Monday Night Raw. I loved it because you know the history of stuff that, Chris Jericho has said about Goldberg. So his exchange with Goldberg was just, I loved it. I was so loving the exchange when Chris Jericho's like, I never liked, it's no secret I've never liked you. And you're like, oh my God. Whoa, what was that? Jericho's going to take the place of Owens. I almost would have liked Goldberg to have speared Jericho. It would have been cool. But I mean, we know Jericho's actually, always had like kind of issues with Goldberg. At least he did in WCW, but I think that was more, obviously not anymore. And I think those issues obviously go back to WCW management more than actually Goldberg. Yeah, I mean, so to be honest, I just loved that interaction. Was kind of cool to see, and they know what they were doing with that, you know, and that was really nice. It's always nice when a shoot interviews from years ago, you know, fans remember, or certain fans remember, or have heard it. A good group of people know about it. Therefore, when you watch two guys in there, it just seems it's very interesting, very good TV. In fact, that they went that route with it, so I appreciated that. So, guys, I mean, what do you guys have to say about this? I'm very interested in the comments below. I'm going to be peering through those, so I hope you have a comment or an opinion on this stuff going on, and I hope you go down there and check it out. Aside from patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show, that's where you can go to support. There'll be a special podcast on there for you guys now, coming up soon, tomorrow, I believe, about 30 minutes. And if you guys haven't watched these other videos, check some of these other videos out, especially State of the WWE, just a gem. If you guys have anything else you want to listen to, there's one on the left, one on the right, and subscribe in the middle if you haven't done it. I come out with daily videos, plus go live after every WWE Raw, and I'll be live tonight after SmackDown to take your phone calls, and we'll talk about WWE SmackDown. We'll see you in the next video, guys.